Welcome to the news on Zodiac with me, Tuesa Ngosi. The headlines this hour. Parliament Committee queries absence of $500 million kwacha budgetary allocation for Chileka International Airport rehabilitation. Continued natural disasters overstretch budget for disaster management way beyond the initially planned 7 billion kwacha. World Health Organization says child diagnosed with polio in Lilongwe not fully vaccinated. And in sports news, Queen's coach Peace Chawinga calls for investment for the team to improve performance. The Transport and Public Works Infrastructure Committee of Parliament is pushing for a 500 million kwacha funding for the rehabilitation of Chileka International Airport. Committee Chairperson Uchizi Mkandawire wondered why the allocation was not made in the 2022-2023 national budget when the project has stalled for close to 11 years. This was noted as officials from the Ministry of Transport appeared before the committee yesterday. This is what he said.
We observed that in this budget there is completely no any allocation. But that work started some 11 years ago, and it is a concern for us because we can't have a project that has been going on for so many years and it's not being completed, and yet there is no any allocation, meaning to say that even the future of that project is not known. So it was a very big issue, and what we have resolved as a cluster committee is that the Treasury should make sure that there is an allocation on that budget line. That is also one issue that was also central amongst the issues that we were discussing. It is indeed true, and this issue has been there each and every financial year. When they come, they report that they have got this challenge whereby they have a shortfall of personnel. And as a committee, we would really love that as a ministry they should have adequate personnel so that they can function properly. You know, when there is a shortage of personnel, it means even in their services, they are affected.
Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Transport and Public Works, Hastings Chiuzu, admitted that funding challenges are affecting operations of the ministry. Still on Parliament issues, the Agriculture Development and Marketing Corporation, ADMAC, is stuck with a 64 billion kwacha debt. ADMAC officials, led by General Manager Rhino Chipiko, appeared before the Parliamentary Cluster Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources and Climate Change, where they reported that in the 2021 alone, the entity incurred losses amounting to 14 billion kwacha. Chimamwe Padata was at Parliament.
The Agriculture Development and Marketing Corporation, ADMAC, needs a bailout of 31 billion kwacha to continue with its operations. Apart from this bailout, the entity has debts now at 64 billion kwacha. ADMAC's General Manager, Rhino Chipiko, says the body has also incurred losses in 2021 amounting to 14 billion kwacha, a development he says is retrogressive.
What we are saying to the shareholder is we need money, we need 48 billion to buy crops, and mostly the commercial crops, because it's the commercial crops that will make ADMAC viable. Maize will not make ADMAC viable.
Agriculture Committee Chairperson Samia Suleiman guaranteed the ADMAC officials that Parliament will push government to service the entity, including allocating 48 billion kwacha funds needed for maize purchase, which is missing in the national budget.
And these are the crucial stakeholders that if we are to really put action to our words, it has to be done through the Ministry of Finance, the Agriculture, Parliament, and the Trade. That's why we called all of them today. I should say also that from the presentation that we got from ADMAC, as a committee, we are very sad to hear that currently even ADMAC is failing to pay wages, and yet government is owing them 23 billion, which has been outstanding for some time.
To improve its financial base, ADMAC has now put up a turnaround strategy which includes a proposal to create separate business units and creation of an edible cooking oil manufacturing company. The ADMAC general manager is reporting that the entity has been going down of revenue. Sadly, its expenditure cannot respond to the incapacitation of the financial base. I am Chimwemwe Barata for Zodiac.
Some tobacco farmers have welcomed the early opening of the market with skepticism, saying it may be difficult for big trucks to take the leaf from rural areas with the ongoing rains. Further, Tama Farmers Trust President Abel Kalima says, while the early opening is exciting, it is doubtful farmers would have amassed enough quantities for stocking. Tobacco Commission spokesperson Terefola Sigwenembe earlier told Zodiac the Commission believes that some farmers have enough leaf to open the market next month.
The Tobacco Commission announced early opening of tobacco markets this season. It says this is to, among others, compensate for high cost of production. Tobacco farmers have been encouraged to produce the leaf due to late rainfall. While tobacco growers are excited with the news, some are worried at the same time. Tama Farmers Trust President Ebo Kalimabanda fears in March most rural roads are wet, and this would make it difficult for 30-tonner trucks to collect tobacco bales from farmers. Mr. Kalima is also skeptical if by the opening of the market, growers might have accumulated enough quantities of tobacco for baling as per grade.
Currently, the policy is allowing us to bale our bale at a minimum of 25 kg. One grade. So I'm not sure that come March, 25 kilograms per barrel, which is one grade, will be there. If we have just started reaping, the tobacco was planted in January, it will be very difficult for a grower to grade a 25 kilogram barrel, one grade.
Kalima hopes the Tobacco Commission will look into such issues to ensuring that at the opening of the season, farmers would transport their tobacco without hurdles. Tobacco Commission spokesperson Terefola Sigwenembe earlier told Zodiac that the Commission is convinced that some tobacco growers have enough stock ready for sale. For Zodiac, this is Noah Nkubwi, Kasungu.
The Department of Disaster Management Affairs, DODMA, says continued natural disasters have overstretched its budget for this year beyond the planned 7 billion kwacha. Commissioner for DODMA, Charles Kalemba, disclosed this. Their initial assumption was that a maximum of 40,000 households would be affected during the rainy season. Kalemba said the situation has been worsened by Tropical Storm Anna, which left over 225,000 households destitute, hence the need to revise the budget. Rafael Mlozoa caught up with Kalemba.
We are very okay on rain season response, and we are finalizing the responding to the 1.7 million this week. So that one is okay. But the second one is the emergency response. So according to our plan, emergency response, we had planned for about 40,000 households to be affected during the season. But as you know, by the time we were being hit by Tropical Storm Anna, we had already gone above 20,000 households affected. And the only Tropical Storm Anna actually brought in over 225,000 households affected. So it means we were far above what we had planned for, and that is the reason why the president declared the state of disaster, because we only declare the state of disaster when we see that the happenings or the disasters happening are beyond our ability to cope.
So at 40,000 during planning, what was the budget?
The budget was about 7 billion during that time. And you see the devastation that has taken place now during this period up to the time we are saying Anna is past. If you look at the damage that has taken place, is far beyond that plan that we had.
The Ministry of Health says no outbreak of any disease has been reported in the disaster evacuation camps apart from routine infestation of bedbugs. However, Deputy Director of Preventive Health Services responsible for environmental health services, Alon Ganizani, says health surveillance assistants are closely monitoring the situation. Hastings Demand reports from Mulanje.
Since January 24 this year, scores of people have been seeking shelter in different camps after Tropical Storm Anna destroyed their houses. With inevitable congestion in these camps, there have been fears of possible outbreaks of communicable and waterborne diseases in these camps. But Deputy Director of Preventive Health Services, responsible for environmental health services in the Ministry of Health, Mr. Alon Ganizani, says no outbreak of any disease has been reported so far from the camps apart from infestation of bedbugs.
So far, we're not actually getting reports of disease outbreaks. Our fear is really hinging on issues to do with the sanitation-related disease outbreaks. But for the time being, there is that silence, apart from issues to do with bedbugs, which I think for us, the public nuisance. It could be like that. Perhaps it's because of the response activities individual district councils and the national level have put in place. Issues to do with coordination of waters for use at the displacement site.
Nonetheless, Ganizani said health surveillance assistants are closely monitoring the situation in the camps to contain the outbreak of any disease. Currently, the country has 178 camps where 190,429 people are seeking shelter. For Zodiac in Mulanje, this is Hastings Jimani reporting.
You're watching the news here on Zodiac. We'll be back in a moment.
Play Super 5 Jackpot, the biggest jackpot ever. Win 20 million Malawi Kwacha for just 200 Malawi Kwacha a ticket. Pick 5 numbers from only 39. 2 draws per week, every Tuesday and Friday at 7:30 p.m. Check out all the results on Facebook and TV. Don't miss out. Buy your tickets at any Premier Lotto agent. And you, what would you do with 20 million? Super 5 Jackpot, the new game by Premier Lotto.
We all start differently, but we can all start with the strongest protection. Because some start early, others start late. Some from little homes, others from big ones. Some start together, or all on their own.
It doesn't matter how you start, as long as you start strong. With new Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection. Now with fluoride plus arginine for 4 times more strengthening power. So that you can give them the strongest start to their day. Colgate. Start strong, stay strong.
Welcome back. You're with me, Twesa. We'll see a look at the headline stories before we proceed. Parliament Committee queries absence of $500 million kwacha budgetary allocation for Chileka International Airport rehabilitation. Continued natural disasters overstretch budget for disaster management way beyond initially planned 7 billion kwacha. WHO says child diagnosed with polio in Lilongwe not fully vaccinated. In sports news, Queen's coach Peace Chawinga calls for investment for the team to improve performance. Moving on with the news, the World Health Organization WHO says the female child from Lilongwe diagnosed with polio last week was not fully vaccinated for the infection. Head of WHO in Malawi, Dr. Janet Kaita, said in an interview, advised authorities should at all times not leave any child unvaccinated in order to deal with polio. John Paul Kayuni reports.
On 19 November 2021, a female child resident in Lilongwe presented signs of polio. She was confirmed to be positive of type 1 wild polio virus. Now the World Health Organization, WHO, has disclosed the child was not fully vaccinated for polio. Acting WHO representative in Malawi, Dr. Janet Kaita, told us chances are high that the case caught the virus because of this.
The first thing that was done is actually try to ascertain, was this child immunized? Did she get all of the childhood vaccines that she should have gotten, including polio? And right now it seems clear that the child was not fully immunized. The reasons why she wasn't fully immunized are probably many.
She, however, has called on health authorities in Malawi to intensify polio immunization and leave no one behind. Meanwhile, Deputy Minister of Health Enoch Pale has told the media that they have lined up communication strategies to reach out to all people with messages on the virus.
We put in place some communication strategy because the public needs to know. And also in place some resource mobilization, because people need to go flat out, provide some vaccination, supplemental immunization to those that probably had early exposure.
This is the first case to be registered in Malawi after over 30 years.
A health researcher Malawi Liverpool Welcome Program has halted its research operations in Chikwawa owing to Tropical Storm Anna. The program's associate director, Professor Janelisu Musaya, says they have done so to allow the affected communities they work with recover from effects of the storm. Hapinja Amano has heard this report from Blantyre.
Malawi Liverpool Welcome Trust Programs Associate Director, Professor Janelisu Musaya, says it is hard to proceed with their research operations with communities who are hit by Tropical Storm Anna in Chikwawa.
Chikwawa is our main site where we do our research in health. And when we heard about what has happened here with the cyclone and the water damage, we realized that these friends of ours that have been with us throughout these years actually need help. We had to stop some of the work because their pain is our pain. We cannot come here and do work when we know people are displaced. So we had to stop for some time, and that's why we come here to help them. And then when the circumstances are at least back to normal, then we can resume our work here.
Health Promotion Officer for Chikwawa, Seth Piriminta, says their effort to assist the survivors is facing challenges.
There is an increase of health problems. As you know, people are living in crowded places. So in so doing, for communicable diseases, it's now becoming a challenge or a big problem, because we know when people are living in a crowded areas, for diseases to spread, it just takes a very little time for that to happen.
All this came up on Tuesday when Malawi Liverpool Welcome Program provided food and non-food items worth 25 million kwacha to survivors at Tiwasamale camp.
In business news, the Oilseeds Producers and Processors Association, OPA, has cast doubt on whether the removal of value-added tax VAT on cooking oil in the country will directly influence the downward reduction of cooking oil in the country. President of the association, Peter Ngoma, told us there are many other factors that influence the pricing, indicating the removal of VAT will have Miaga effect. John Paul Kayuni reports.
During his budget presentation in Parliament last week, Minister of Finance Sosthene Gwengwe announced that government has removed the 16.5% value-added tax VAT on cooking oil. He indicated this is expected to bring down cooking oil prices that have increased rapidly in recent years. The VAT removal, however, will come into effect when the budget is passed in April this year. Now, Oilseeds Producers and Processors Association has disclosed cooking oil prices may not reduce as people expect. President of the association, Peter Ngoma, told us there are many other factors that influence the price and not only VAT.
Despite the removal of the VAT, the prices of commodities, including cooking oil, driven mainly by the global trends, the global price trends, that has got an effect on the local prices. And in our case, we are also affected by the scarcity of forex.
Meanwhile, Consumers Association of Malawi, Kama, has advised the only way Malawi can achieve low cooking oil prices is by manufacturing cooking oil locally.
We have always said, I also talked to a lot of people in government and said, the only way we can start seeing reduced prices of cooking oil is when we start producing cooking oil locally in the country. Currently, we are not producing cooking oil in Malawi. When we start producing cooking oil locally in the country. Currently, we are not producing cooking oil in Malawi.
Recently, cooking oil refiners accused the government of imposing VAT on cooking oil, which they indicated contributed to the increase in prices. For Zodiac in Lilongwe, this is John Paul Kayuni.
We move on to sports. The Malawi national netball team, the Queens head coach Peace Chawinga, says there is need for serious investment towards the team if it's to bounce back from the recent slump in form. Chawinga says it is a concern that that other countries like Uganda have now started overtaking the Queens on the rankings, having invested a lot in the game, since calling for authorities to seriously look into the matter. Bright Kanyama has filed a report.
The Malawi national netball team, the Queens, are set to compete at this year's Commonwealth Games in July in Birmingham, England. However, preparations for the competition has been facing challenges already, among them financial challenges. This, according to the head coach Peace Chawinga, is a major setback in the development of the sport. Chawinga says there is need for massive investment in the sport so as to improve the performance of the national team at international level. She says the improved performance of Uganda is due to massive support for the team from stakeholders, which is not the case here in Malawi. Meanwhile, NAM General Secretary Isaac Chimwala has since said they will ensure resources are available for the Queens as well as for the development of the sport from the grassroots.
Lessons have been learned from all the parties, and what is most important is to hold hands together and move forward to achieve the whole purpose of the whole association.
The 2022 Commonwealth Games will be played from July to August this year. For Zodiac, this is Bright Kanyama.
And that's about what we had time for in this edition of the news. But before we go, a recap of the headline stories. Parliament Committee queries absence of $500 million kwacha budgetary allocation for Chileka International Airport rehabilitation. Continued natural disasters overstretch budget for disaster management way beyond initially planned 7 billion kwacha. WHO says child diagnosed with polio in Lilongwe not fully vaccinated. Queen's coach Peace Chawinga calls for investment for more for the team to improve performance. Visit zodiacmalawi.com for more news. My name is Twesa Ngosi. From the rest of the news crew, it's good afternoon and thanks for watching.